Happy Sunday, y'all. It's Kate. Hey, y'all. It's Kate's Garden Chicken and Cat Rambles. Me and Laddie. It's a Sunday afternoon. And you might get a little froggy. Might see some action because I walked out here in the red Crocs with pink socks. Yeah. This is my in-house attire. Got cold last night and I didn't want to put extra blankets on the bed. And I don't like my feet. I feel like I'm tangled up if my feet are always under the covers. You know, unless it's like bitter cold winter, but I still like to stick my feet out. And so then I'll put socks on. I just sleep in socks, but you sleep better if your feet are warm. I mean, I don't mind sleeping with my feet cold, but they say there's studies that if your feet are warm, you get better rest. Well, you know, there you go. He's like, you keep your feet warm at night, don't you? I know, you settled on you big booty. Yeah, girlfriend too. So I had made a little video last night, but it was just a little bit rambly. I had looked out the window and saw her Laddie up in the tree making his little kind of chortle clucks, kind of like he makes when he's telling her there's something good, come eat. And she came running and did her little, her hop up on things to get up to the top of the big coop and then up in the tree. And with each hop, she would, she was gauging, to do the next hop. She doesn't just do it like, she's running what would you call it, squirrel, like she's running some relay course, parkour relay course, whatever she, and each level he would give her a little encouraging and on up until she got up to the branch where he was. And then when she got up there, as she was coming, he moved so that her jump would land her between him and the tree, and then he slowly scooched her up along this branch behind. There's a branch behind there. Scooched her along it until he was protecting her, and she had the tree on one side and him on the other. And then typically they will face opposite directions. I guess if that's a prey animal thing. I mean, they're asleep, but they're, any direction that something can come towards them, I think they feel, they both got it covered. It was just sweet. Not what you would call chicken chivalrous, but it was sweet. So, little miss, I'm a little concerned for Cece. Yesterday was really cool and really windy and rainy. So she was in here all day, and then as the afternoon got more rainy, I closed the sides to keep the wind and rain off, and I put in the light bulb. So she had the light bulb until its battery is dead. I need to go plug it into the solar charger. Though we had some sun, but it looks like it's around noon, and I think about 1, we're supposed to be getting some more, some more rain showers. So I just fed her, but she sat in that spot. You can see that big divot there. I could tell by her poo this morning that she sat there all day. That's where when I put her in, that's where she went and sat. I mean, if she got up and drank, which I think she drank some, she must have went right back to that same spot. So this morning I moved her, early this morning, and I moved the heater around. Like I said, you can't feel heat coming from that, but she has the options to get up close to it at night because we're getting back down into the low 50s. And normally that's a great temperature for chickens. They like it in the 50s. It's like perfect for them. She is alone, and she has been, she's only been a week. If it was a week Friday, that she's fully made it since her traumatic escape from a semi-truck while it was moving, I'm sure. But so I pulled out any of the feed pieces that she just really never eats, and she has a little bit of the high protein feed I get for Laddie. It's a game bird. It's a starter grower for game birds and showbirds. So since I noticed this morning that she hadn't eaten anything, she was in the same position, facing the same direction all night, as far as I could tell, And her food dish didn't look like because I hadn't replenished it. She got her portion yesterday, and that was her portion for the whole day. And I could tell she hadn't eaten any, so I pulled a lot of that out, and then I just gave her probably not even a quarter cup, maybe half of a quarter cup, just sprinkled on the top because it's smaller crumbles, hoping that would entice her to eat. And I moved her around, and I felt around on her, picked her up, and she kicked her legs and squawked. So, it's just been a week, and by not knowing if there was anything internally or any full extent of any pain, or bruising or soreness, because we all know if you've ever fallen or had an injury or been in a car wreck that the first day, sometimes the first 48 hours, you don't notice anything because your adrenaline is pumped. You might be a little bit stiff, that's, 24 hours later, but usually still there's so much adrenaline going through your body. But then, you think, hey, I got this made. And then on day 3 and 4, you're like, oh my gosh, all of a sudden you're really getting stiff. And you're realizing that you're sore in places you didn't realize you were sore yet. A lot of times I think inflammation causes pain, but also inflammation can press against your nerves, and so you're not quite feeling how bruised the muscle is, or if you've got I've had some bruises where it's like with a deep bruise where like the muscle attaches to the bone, bruises like down in that area before from motorcycle accidents, falls, climbing, hiking crap, anyway. Not paying attention and falling over an ottoman, things we do. So she seems fine, her colors are fine. I'm just gonna, today, because we're supposed to have showers and they cannot pinpoint when, and to keep from her, her getting soaked, before I could get out here and move her out of the rain, blah, blah, blah. She'll stay in here, and she can see everything and talk to the birds, and she's get plenty of fresh air. So there she is. There's Cece, the rescue Cornish cross. A week Friday was since Paul found her trying to cross the road. She can stand, she can walk, she can, I'm just limiting her feed, but I'm making sure she's getting plenty of protein. I mainly gave her that high protein, let me move this, starter grower. She doesn't need anything really, it's gonna fatten her up, but noticing she hadn't eaten in hours, she hadn't eaten in at least 12 to 14 hours, I wanted something that might entice her. So she's got the Kalmbach Hen House Reserve under there, which is whole grains and fruit and veggies, very nutritious. And then she's got sprinkled on top, kind of like you would sprinkle maybe some granola across your yogurt, is some of that starter grower. It's by Mana Pro. It's a starter grower feed, and it's for game and showbirds. It's got lots of nutrients, but it's like, I'm sorry, I'm shaking a little bit. I was gripping too tight, I think. It's like 24% protein. Or is it 22? 22 or 24. But yeah. Especially if I have a bird that's kind of sick, like she doesn't want scrambled eggs. My birds aren't big on scrambled eggs. They like them raw. But I'm not going to give them raw to her. And so some of Laddie's food. And if you follow, you kind of know why I give Laddie high protein. If you're new, hi, welcome. This is Laddie Roo, my older rooster. He's a carry around, follow his mama around rooster. He has his attitude, but if you can tell, come on, Laddie, be still. He has a crooked beak, almost like a parrot beak, but his bottom beak juts out almost straight. So he has to have his beak trimmed because as he's gotten older, they've quit scissoring. They used to kind of be like, he could do them like pinchers, but now they're scissoring more. Except for like, the bottom beak sticks out like my index finger, and the top one's curling like that. So, and he's got kind of a hook, really much of the hawk beak. So, they also call it a parrot beak because of the way it just hooks and goes down. So, every 2 months, it's been a month, I should probably trim it again. I picked him up the other day, but if I keep it short, it brings those two cross pieces. If I clip their tips, it makes them more like pinchers again. And it helps him to forage and eat. But because he can't forage and peck up worms and bugs, big, especially, big fat juicy bug. I've seen the other chickens decimate a cicada, a full-grown cicada. He can't do that and stuff. So to make sure he's getting the optimal amount of protein that a male rooster needs, they need protein. They don't need all the calcium a hen does, because that can cause issues with their bones, but they do need a good high protein diet. And if roosters sacrifice a lot of protein for their hens. Like he'll go over and I'll move a log and he'll find there'll be tons of roly-polies and worms, and he calls them over, but he'll call Flower over. But most of your roosters, I noticed it with Cosmo, he'll call them over and let them know that, and he lets them eat first. And they may get every single roly-poly and every single worm, and he maybe, your rooster might get a roly-poly or two, but typically he stands back and all the hens come over, and you know how they're greedy little piglets. So I think, and roosters need to be strong. They've got different musculature. They're the male bird, and it's for their health. So I mix with, he eats the hen house reserve too, because there's nothing in there. He's not going to overdo it on calcium, but there's lots of whole grains and fruits and veggies and all the stuff he needs too. But for his beautiful feathers and to ensure he gets protein, I mix in with his food that starter grower. And of course that means Flower out here, who's always roaming and foraging. She's way over there under the truck now. Squirrel. I'm walking around with this light bulb, like, just go plug it in while there's a little bit of sun. And we missed her feet. Her fluffy butt just went between the tires. But she's eating stuff around the edge of the driveway. But yeah, she does consume some of that starter grower. But I noticed that she, like my other hens, goes through and pecks all the colorful, all the other stuff first. And Laddie, with his small beak, well, his crooked beak, he uses his tongue a lot, so the starter grower sticks to his little tongue really well. I'm sorry, we'll look at chaos while I'm trying to plug in this light bulb. So I'm holding the camera under my, I don't think that's gonna work, my armpit, and that's not gonna work. Well, it's not gonna charge. I'll do it when I'm done videoing. But here's everybody else. So over here, hanging in the pavilion, and someone the other day said I made a comment about my janky fences, and she's like, "My garden fences are janky too," and that was really kind of sweet to other people. I know not everybody is like you. You see a lot of channels, people raising chickens, and they got these really outstanding, awesome looking coops and yards, and you can tell they've spent thousands and thousands. We can't see all the chickens if I say, here, set my chair if it's not wet and gross. We're covered in poopies. Nope, that wasn't a poopy, that was a fly. So here's everybody in the pavilion, and sometimes some of us who are creators or chicken keepers, I watched videos, and long before I got chickens, and when I was wanting ideas of how I was going to house them and all that good stuff, I watched to see how other people did it. I saw a lot of fabulous coops, and coops are so expensive, and a lot of times once you get that coop home, I've seen more comments like, yeah, it's a great coop, but it couldn't hold up to the wind, or it developed leaks, and then a lot of times, you need a coop. People would just suck up the expense and fix it themselves. If that's all you have, you can't just, move your chickens, and, it's not always feasible to move your chickens in your house or your garage while you return their coop and wait for another one to come and hope to God you got the weather to put it together, and, So, and I'm a very big, like I've said before, I don't have a lot of money. Paul takes good care of me, but, I had to retire before I could retire, if that makes any sense. And any savings or anything I had, you know, I went through. Now everyday life is expensive. And anyway, blah, blah, blah. Enough about me. We're looking at chickens. But everything here except for the actual kennel and the tin and, you know, these 4x4x9 10s or whatever they were. It might have been 12. Yeah, 4x4x12s and the, you know, some 2x4s and the 2x10x12s that are buried around the outside cube. Everything else was anything wooden has been scavenged. Yeah, has been upcycled. You know, the hawk net and the mesh and the chicken wire, of course, are new, but everything else. And we're just pallets. If you're not familiar, Paul has a friend who has a sign company. You know, the big, huge electronic LED signs that you see up on poles that, you know, are always running pictures and whatever. Well, when they come to the company, they're on all kinds of different pallets. That's why I have pallets that look like little boardwalks, all solid. And then, you know, a big 5x10 pallet with odd 2x8s instead of, you know, 2x4s in places. Long, narrow ones like that one that's way over there. That really skinny one right there around there where I pile all the old shavings of poo. You know, regular pallets you see standing out. And the pallets that I have, like, I have a pallet on top of here. The pallet on top of there. No, I think I just constructed that myself. But that is all walled. There's 6 pallets building the chicken shack, and there's 4 pallets that are the walls inside the coop part of the run. So, and I didn't ever intend to be someone to say this is how you should do it, or hey, this is how to do it on a budget. It's about taking care of your animals. I don't think there's one correct way to do it. No two chicken keepers, even if someone totally mimics and copies somebody else who's a successful chicken keeper, you're still not going to be the same. No two chicken keepers keeps their chickens. No two coops roost. None of it. Nobody is the same. You know, it's something that's Thank you, Cosmo, for your 2 bits. But you know, it's not something that's just there's things that are basic that everybody experiences, everybody goes through. But there's sicknesses and illness that I see people going through in a couple of the groups, Facebook groups, and I see people, you know, making videos of content creators making videos of their chickens being sick. I'm lucky; I haven't had to deal with that. I've had some losses from some, I think, poorly bred animals, but and one that was killed by a predator. But you know, so I'm lucky. But what I use to deworm my chickens or take care of, that's what I choose. And that's from what I watched or learned or in my experiences. And that's what works for me. Doesn't mean it's going to work for you, and I never want to be someone who says, this is how you should do it, and this is the right way to do it, and you're doing it wrong. I see a lot of people being mean to each other and mean to new chicken keepers, and I'm like, I can't believe you did that. There's not a single chicken keeper. Yeah, I know you guys can't hear me now because I'm too far away. Because this phone, I don't have a mic for. So, anyhow, there's not a single chicken keeper out there in the world who hasn't made a mistake or done something wrong, and you know, and a lot of times if you learn, you can correct it, and you've learned, and it doesn't happen again. And then there's sometimes, you know, things happen, they don't know what happened, or, you know, for the life of them, they can't think of what they might have did wrong. So it's good to share with other people. It's like anything. Sometimes someone who steps out of the box, steps out of your picture, and just looks at your picture without being in it, can see things you might miss. You know, I always laugh. It's like when you send a man to go look for something, and he stands in the middle of the room and he turns circles and says, I can't find it, I can't where's it at? I'm like, open drawers looking things, you know. So, you know, sometimes that's just how it is. Somebody can stand in your own room. You know, I've done it before. I shouldn't just blame it on men, you know. I've known I've had my keys in my hand. I don't know where I laid them. So one time they're not in my pocket, and I'll stand in the room and just turn circle and go, what did I do? I'm not even really looking for it. Sometimes I'm just thinking. But anyway, sometimes it's, you know, what's right in front of your face is overwhelming, and it's good to have other people's input. But people, please be nice, you know. People, the number one priority in the whole thing with chicken keeping is the health and the happiness of your birds. Bottom line, that's what's most important. If you're not getting as many eggs as you want, you know, don't go, well, I don't want this chicken anymore. You know, they are creatures and they're smart. And my neighbor, I guess he didn't realize, chickens can remember like 100 faces. They know who takes care of them, who comes around them, who's safe, who's not. And he had FedEx dropped something next door, and he carried it over, and I heard Cosmo and Laddie both make a little chortle noise, but that was it. There was nothing else. The chickens made no more noises, no crows. And then I thought I heard someone talking, but I thought maybe it's just people behind the fence or whatever. And then he texted me and said, you know, he brought the food over. I said, oh, I thought I heard a voice. He's like, yeah, they were all just at the fence. And he's like, I was just talking to him. He said, they didn't seem to be bothered at all. He said, Laddie just, you know, looked at him, was like, you know, hey, dude, and kept doing what he was doing. I said, well, they know who you are. You know, when I was running back and forth to the hospital and couldn't get here at night to put them up and make sure they were tucked in, Eric came up, he and his wife, she was heavily pregnant at the time, they came over each night and made sure that, you know, Laddie was in his bachelor pad, because it was before he had flour, and that he counted all their legs, make sure that there was enough chickens up in the roost. So they knew him, you know, from weeks on end of him coming in and, you know, checking on them and putting him to bed. They knew he wasn't a threat, and he thought that was neat. And then a video, one of my subscribers thought it was amazing how the UPS guy walked up to the Amazon guy, walked right up to me to hand me a package, and Laddie was just a few feet away and he could care less. And you know, that's just Laddie. I think, as I said to her, I think they go off your emotions a lot. If I'm really feeling high strung and angry, sometimes Laddie, I think he picks up on that. But there's times that when I'm just really blah, you know, I think, you know, and he'll be really, really sweet. So you just, you know, he sees me as one of his hens. And, you know, or I don't know how he sees me. I am his goddess. She's his girlfriend. But yeah, he's sweet. But, yeah, and not everyone's going to have a rooster like that. You can't, you know, they're all individuals. Every one of these chickens is different. And if you pay attention to them, you can see little personality things in them. But they're sweet, and they're calm, and look, they're not freaked out. They're like, but we don't want to be on camera, so just look at our booties. Look at them big fluffy butts. So I have, what we're looking at, the male is a Easter egger. See his little cheek muffs and his dark legs. And then that big poopy buff booty, you're seeing buff and black booty, is Neve. She's a buff Brahma. This is Luna. As we know, she is a silver-laced Wyandotte. And then over there, quietly sitting, trying to nap and ignore all this bathing, is Kiva. She's another buff Brahma. And then this little rust-colored beauty down here, who looks a lot like the Brahmas. She has beautiful black cheek muffs. She's an Easter egger, and that is Zin Zin. She's got the dark legs too. She's so sweet down there bathing. And then we have the Colombian Rock Cross, who's back on her nest, I think. That's Lily. And then Daisy, my other Leghorn cross, crossed with a a gold-laced Wyandotte. They just look like Leghorns. She's still sitting on those eggs, and I haven't handled them yet. Yeah, I know. I'm so slack. Maybe I will tonight. I don't know. Just depends on the weather. I don't want to be pulling them out. If there's blowing windy rain, if there's blowing windy rain, I don't want my cameras, because what I'm going to do is film with the iPhone 10 so that I can have a microphone on, and then use the flashlight on this 15 that I'm filming with now to put it face down and use the flashlight to candle. And I don't want to take the eggs in the house and bring them back out. I just want to, you know, out there, just pull them out, candle them real quick. You know, any viable, put them back, and then any that have not developed, I will put aside and feed to this crew. They're like, what? Did you say feed us egg? We love those things. It's magic how you open them, Mom. Yeah, I've never had them peck at their own egg. I think if a chicken knows that if they peck it hard, they can get food out of it, or maybe out of boredom, or sometimes maybe if there's a spot or something on the egg that, I don't know. I don't know what makes a chicken want to eat their own, peck at their own eggs. Like I've said before, if I lots of times in the summer threw an egg out here without cracking it first, and it landed on all this fluffy grass here and just roll. And the chickens will run to it, but if it's not leaking anything or cracked, they just give it a kick like a soccer ball, and then they come back to me like, why are you throwing balls at us? We don't play with balls. We are not cats. We are not dogs. So I have to crack it, and when they hear me cracking it, they know that they're getting ready to get an egg. And then when it hits the ground, even if it just breaks open a little bit, as long as it's leaking something and there's a crack, then they get it the rest of the way. But like I said, if it's not cracked or leaking, they just ignore it. They're just like, okay, whatever, you know. And it's the same with Laddie. You just heard him chortle. He and Flower are over in the garden. You guys better not be over by those cucumbers. If they're scratching the cucumber plants, I'm gonna be mad. But yeah, I like back to the whole janky fencing and building thing. That was what this video was supposed to be about. Now it's 27 minutes of me just looking at chickens and rambling. But that's what my channel is. I ramble about the garden and the cats and the chickens mostly. But I like recycling and reusing, and everything I put together is I can take apart and reuse or throw away. And I didn't use plans, which is why not everything is perfect. Some things are slant. This is slanted on purpose to be higher in the front, and then have a little bit of a gradient difference this direction, so that the rain will run here and then run back down the hill, because this is there's a bit of a slope here. So, you know, and that's not because I have any engineering skills or drafting skills. It's just because I'm like, that makes sense. But, you know, I'm comfortable with what I have. Like I've said, it keeps my chickens in. It keeps other animals out. Never had an issue with any kind of land predator in here in the past 2.5, 3 years. Yeah, and it was very affordable. So, you know, luckily I have a huge yard. I mean, I have a huge piece of property here, so they have a incredibly large yard. And because I'm only on the edge of town, and the street out in front of me and the highway across tend to be busy, and my street is a favorite cut through to get into the heart of the town, and we're right off the beach highway, so you know, people are coming up the beach highway from Maryland, and they get to my street, and they know that, you know, if they keep going, they're going to go past stuff. But if they know if they cut down my street, they can get to downtown where there's a pub and a couple of restaurants, that kind of stuff. Or they would keep going, you know. It's just an easier way for traffic. And so I didn't want my chickens getting in the street. I didn't want them, you know, people walk their dogs, whatever. But I am out city limits. That's the only reason I can have chickens here. Get away with it. So anyhow, yeah, do what works for you. You know, what keeps your animals safe and warm in the winter. You know, if you live in a colder climate, you're going to have to do a lot more than I do. Yes, I live in Delaware. People think it's New England, but we are right at, you know, New England is 2 hours above us before you really know what to consider New England. Not till you get to like up to Philly. So, and we're mid-Atlantic, so our weather is very similar to the Carolinas. We're very flat, but we don't get, I mean, we get hurricanes if they come this far up. If they're going to come into Wilmington, we'll get the skirts of it. But, you know, and we deal with nor'easters, but we're pretty mild. We are, you know, there's times in the summer that our heat and humidity is hotter than some of the states out west. We're as hot. Plus, you know, being on the coast, we are always humid. You know, so that's why I do the totally open air dog kennel, you know, with the absolute only surround that, you know, they have to be safe. In the winter, you don't want them in direct wind. You don't want them damp. So, you know, you can have some drafts going under the bottom of your coop. As long as there's no draft on your chickens and they're not getting wet, they're going to be good in the winter, you know, at freezing. But this winter, you know, we didn't get that cold. And, you know, the wall that used to hang here, I took down, you know, lifting it up and closing it, it was a pain. And when I built this, it wasn't going to work. When I built this set of nest boxes, there's Daisy still sitting on her egg. She's got food and water with her. And, you know, she gets some little babies pop out. You know, at least she can show them water. And it's not, they can't drown in it. But you see, from inside this coop, you can see inside that coop. But anyway, you know, use what you can find. Pallet wood's great. Because, you know, you can get one pallet and take off its boards and fill in all those holes. Because typically they are spaced, you know. That one right there, you can see that you would just put another, you could put a two before, one before. And then you could get two there and two there. And these that I've got are spaced that way just because they're holding these intricate electrical signs, and which might need more support at one side, whatever. I don't know. But look at, yep, she's out in my garden. Luckily they weren't with the cucumbers. They're digging in some grassy stuff that I moved the green stalk planter yesterday slowly. I had to pull a bunch of weeds and then just scooch it because it's heavy. So they're over there. That's it, Flower. You go, girl. Help your mom with that garden. Get some weeding done. Hey, of all the chickens, she's the only one that really kind of earns her keep in a way. But that's Flower, and this is her twin, Daisy, who is gone broody. Leghorns are not a chicken that goes broody or known to be great moms, as far as I know. And gold lace Wyandottes can be, but Wyandottes aren't particularly a broody hen. Any hen of any breed can become broody. But some breeds tend to be broodier than others. There's the wall of many purposes, providing any kind of rain block or wind or rain from blowing in on her, and the birds can get under there. And I'll stick this in somewhere. I just probably filmed half a video and then realized that somehow I might have turned on the remote button. I don't know. Somehow it wasn't filming. Okay, so over there, outside in the yard, Laddie started singing. He's a rooster. And everybody's joining in. I don't know what the song is. This can't be an egg song because nobody's laid an egg. He just ended it with a growl. Cosmo sealed the deal, song's over. But yeah, I don't know what he was, I don't think he was luring the feral cats. They're all used to the feral cats. Whatever reason, he just started singing and set off their screws. So though they are separated by this fence, my thin, janky fence, I like it. I like it. It's low maintenance. I don't have to mess with it. Shore it up now and then with what I have, and the chickens can get, you know, really close to each other through the fence. You know, except for the boys, they still pretty much act like one flock, even though two of them are outside this yard. But like I said, the yard's so big, and yeah, others have so much room to roam that, you know, and they pretty much all hang out, you know, migrate around the edge of the yard and hang out together. And I'm sure that if the boys can never be put back together again, you know, I think that would only work if I added another dozen hens. And Laddie would probably want out because he's spoiled. He likes to eat cat food on the back porch and come in the house in the winter and poop on the kitchen floor. You know? He hangs out with, you know, he's got more of a social life. He's a little more cosmopolitan, you know. Hangs out with some feral kittens and some older feral cats and a poultry protection cat and humans, you know. I think Laddie thinks that his norm is the norm. And he certainly doesn't want to go in the yard. Cosmo was a big bully, and Laddie has one spur. They never really drew blood except for that one time through the fence, when a piece of the only thing between them was some hawk neck, because the fence had started to fall down from the wind. And I think if you've been around, there's some videos of some bloody combs and the fights and the after effects. But Laddie doesn't want to go in there. But he doesn't really back down from the fence, you know, even after they were both bloodied each other. They know they made their mama mad. I threaten, you know, every now and then, I threaten Cosmo that he's going to become a chicken dinner, or I might go a whole day calling him, you know, roast chicken. And that's just me venting. He doesn't care what I say, but I tell him, you know, dude, if you weren't so beautiful, I'd find a way to eat you. Okay, yeah, I'm lying. I'm totally lying. There's no way I could eat one of my own pets. And I couldn't kill him. He's just so beautiful. And I just tell myself, you know, the beautiful ones were always the jerks. Alright guys, it's Sunday. I'm going to go back in, continue my lazy Sunday. I came out here to just film putting their food up, and I'm just blabbering on. But the wind's picking up. We're supposed to be getting some showers, and they're going to be sporadic. So I went ahead and, as you can see, I brought their food in. Oops. There's their food. They got a bowl there, and then a bowl here on the other side of the bag of corn. You know, that's their Kalmbach Hen House Reserve. And there's Laddie and sorry. Ooh, that might have been loud. On the other side, just hanging out, talking to their siblings and their buddies through the fence. And Mama Kate's gonna go in. Leave the last few seconds of just the chicken.